think the biggest thing that I want Simi Valley constituents to know is that I recognize that this is a change, that having a Democrat in office here is new for a lot of people, that I'm young, that I'm not necessarily what people are accustomed to in terms of your representative in Congress. But what I can say is that there's no one's checking the party, no one's checking your voting record when you walk into our door and ask for help. And what I can also say is that I am 100% committed to doing what I believe is best for this community, regardless of party, regardless of political ideology, regardless of anything else. And that's what I'm going to stay committed to. So, I hope to earn, even if you didn't support me in the first place, over time, just to at least know that I'm working for you.
Are you running again?
Oh yeah. You never really stop running in this. I've learned that too. Sure. So I would say that one of the areas where it comes, very clear that I'm in a purple district and that I work hard to make sure that the priorities and the values of this community are reflected is in the issue of defense. And with our National Defense Authorization Act that we helped to develop and pass through committee, the Armed Services Committee that I'm on, and then also pass through Congress, those of us who are committee members fought really hard to make sure that we got the resources that we needed for, ensuring the safety and security of our country, ensuring that communities like ours that are very grounded in defense and in the industry are able to continue to produce what we need to keep our country safe, but also which is keeping our economy thriving. And I was part of the whip team to ensure that my progressive colleagues who have often not voted for a defense bill at all were able to get on board with this and pass it through the House. So, I think that it's something that's really important, and I'm proud to have been a part of it. There are a lot more similarities between Santa Clarita and Simi Valley than there are between the Antelope Valley and the rest of the district. And largely, you see that in terms of income and opportunity. The average income here and in Santa Clarita is about $80,000. In Antelope Valley, it's about $45,000. So we see the vast majority of our casework requests coming through the Antelope Valley because people really need more help there. When I go out to that part of the district, I was there yesterday, you see people who are really struggling with a lack of resources, who have been involved in kind of systemic failures for a long time, like the lack of mental health care, substance abuse treatment, or opportunities for young people. Like it is just a very different place in terms of privilege, frankly. And so, having grown up partly in the Antelope Valley and then in Santa Clarita, and again, I see Santa Clarita and Simi Valley as such beacons of this is how the middle class, this is what the middle class can be, and this is the kind of community that we can have when you have a thriving middle class. Then, to me, I want that for our entire district. And I also recognize that people within the other parts of the district, Santa Clarita and Simi Valley, still feel like, yes, we're part of the middle class, but we still are struggling. We're still struggling to pay for healthcare. We're still struggling to pay for childcare. We still, the cost of housing has gone up so much that I don't know, I hear a lot of people worry that their kids aren't going to be able to live here, and when they graduate school, or they're going to be leaving with too much debt. And so I think that it's really important to enact body cameras in a way that works locally. So I think that the right policies and procedures have to be in place to protect privacy and to protect our officers. My dad has actually been the one who's been in charge of instituting body cameras for Beverly Hills PD. So I know the process that he's been through, and we want to make sure that not only do we have the information in case there is an incident to protect both civilians, but also to protect the officers who might be involved. Well, I do believe it's a combination of factors. I think that one of the areas that I've been a big champion for is actually trying to get funding for the research to really get to the root cause of what is contributing to this epidemic of gun violence that we're seeing in our country and of mass shootings. 1 in 4 adolescents is going to graduate high school with a mental health disorder, with a serious mental health disorder. So to say that 1 in 4 people is likely to commit a major homicidal act because of a mental illness is not the right message that we should be sending in any way, shape, or form. That said, I do think that we need to be looking at the behavioral flags. We, as a country, mental health is a problem everywhere, right? But where you don't see gun violence at the levels that you do here in America is anywhere else in the world. And that's because we have easier access to weapons than any other first world country. And in fact, actually, one of the things I learned on my trip was that an overwhelming number of the guns that are used in criminal activity in Mexico actually come from the United States. So we are not only making it too easy for our own citizens to have guns, but we're even taking that across the border. But we have passed 4 different pieces of legislation through the House of Representatives that are sitting on Mitch McConnell's desk. One of them is what I said about research. The other one is universal background checks, H.R. 8. The third is H.R. 1112, which closes a loophole where basically if you don't get the results back from a background check within 3 days, it is current law that it doesn't matter what the results are, you get your gun anyway. Closing that loophole would make it so that you have to at least 30 days before it defaults to allowing people to get a gun. And then the final piece is the Violence Against Women Act, which should not be controversial in any way, shape, or form. And the only piece of additional gun kind of restrictions that are placed in the Violence Against Women Act is closing what's called the boyfriend loophole, which means that when current law, it says that if you have a conviction for domestic violence and you are a spouse, then you can't get a gun. But if you have a conviction for domestic violence as a boyfriend or as a non-married partner, then it doesn't affect
apply.
you. And then also for misdemeanor stalking, if you have stalking charges, then it also doesn't stop you from getting a gun. And these are some of the most dangerous behaviors that can be indicative of homicidal violence or attempted violence with a weapon, is through domestic violence. Those are kind of the precursors that we see over and over again. So all of those proposed pieces of legislation have passed the House and are sitting at the Senate. Ultimately, whether we end up having to impeach or not. I did not go to Washington, D.C. to have any kind of role in impeaching the president. That was not what I got elected for. That was not what I wanted to be focusing my time on. But at the same time, I took that oath. I took the oath to the Constitution, and I believe in the rule of law. And I believe that our community also believes in the rule of law, and that if we want to uphold the institutions of democracy, not just now, but for generations to come, then it is critically important for us to say that even the people at the highest positions of power have to be held to the same standards as everybody else. And that means that we cannot allow activity we can't allow impunity. We can't allow people to get away with things that regular citizens could not possibly get away with because they're powerful. I think that is so fundamentally against what we stand for as America. And so, but I think that we have to be incredibly deliberate. I think that we have to make sure that we are not approaching anything in a way that has a preconceived decision or outcome at the table. And so I have not called for impeachment, even though many of my colleagues have, because I think that these investigations have to fully play out.